I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Thank you for listening to Your Working Life, my podcast series featuring thought leaders in the career and personal growth arena. I know that you spend a significant portion of your life at work, so I'm on a mission to provide you with tools, inspiration, and resources so you can enjoy your career and love your life. And I'm very excited to welcome my special guest, Mike Volpe, who is the Chief Marketing Officer of HubSpot. Mike, welcome.
Thanks a ton for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it sure will. I'm excited that you're here. Now, there's a really hot discussion topic out there in the world right now, and I know HubSpot has certainly had a voice in this, and talking about unlimited vacation. And I know that there was a particular article and comment by Richard Branson on giving workers this unlimited vacation. He's, of course, a billionaire, and he announced that he's giving his whole personal staff unlimited vacation days. Now, tell me, what's your take on that, Mike? It sounds great, and
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds great, and I think it is great. I mean, as you were sort of referencing a little bit, we've had an unlimited vacation policy here at HubSpot since 2010, so for more than 4 years now, and we're huge proponents of it. I think it's funny. I think that there's sort of this creeping feeling among a lot of companies that something about the way we manage work and personal life today is not like it used to be.
yeah,
And I think
certainly.
a lot of companies are struggling to figure out what are some of the ways to have a different relationship, a different level of engagement between the work life and the personal life. And I think this is one of the things a lot of companies are trying. And I personally think, for us, our experience has been great with it.
Now, let me go back and explain to the audience too. You joined HubSpot in 2007. So, am I right in that you were the company's fifth employee?
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, you've been there from the beginning. So, has the culture shifted since you went to this unlimited vacation concept?
I think the unlimited vacation for us was more of something that was in keeping with our culture rather than trying to shift our
Okay.
culture. And I think that, what we've tried to do with the culture is understand that there are certain principles that we want to make sure that we're embodying as much as possible. And then the way you bring those principles to life, needs to possibly change over time. I mean, when I, started, we were 5 employees and we didn't formally have an unlimited vacation policy, but there was no, it was pretty informal at that size
Yeah.
of a company. We're about 750 employees today, so we've grown a lot. And obviously, the
Yes.
way you think about vacation and time off needs to change and evolve. And so I think that when we put in the unlimited vacation policy in 2010, it was the right thing to do for that right time in the company, and it's still today for us is a really good thing and something that's an important part of our culture as well today.
And you were quite progressive adopting this in 2010. I mean, that's really extraordinary. I I'd love for you to walk me through it, right? So Jane Doe works in the company, right? This mythical creature, and she says, "Hey, I'm ready for a vacation." So what does that look like with an unlimited vacation policy? What's that process?
Well, I think the whole point is kind of there is no process, right? So I
Okay.
think that one of the huge benefits here is you're saving a ton of time and effort around, tracking and forms and keeping, count of how many days people have taken, and they take a half day or they take a full day or all of that stuff that just kind of provides a huge, just sort of like management kind of burden and just a
Yeah.
burden on the employees. And I think
Unnecessary
and
work. Yeah.
yeah, exactly right. And I think the other thing around the culture too is that, I mean, I have 2 kids. My 3-year-old, when he's in school, he needs to ask permission to use the bathroom, right? Um,
Right.
but if you're in a meeting in the office and somebody has to go to the bathroom, they just get up and go
You
to the
just
bathroom.
go.
Like
Yeah.
they're adults, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so here we are, but we're asking people to ask permission to take some time off. To me, it just if you really want to treat people like adults, they shouldn't have to ask permission. They should certainly, just not blindly not show up one day. You want to let the team know. So for most of our teams here, what that usually means is they have to put a note in, usually Google Calendar or a system like
Yeah.
that, and just say, hey, I'm on these days. Like here, you can see it. I'm not here these days.
Hmm.
I'm on vacation, and that's it.
Which
And
is
there's
the
no
right thing to
approval
do. Yeah.
required or things like, yeah, exactly. So there's certainly like a notification kind of
Right.
requirement that we ask people to let us know, but there's no asking for permission and there's
Hmm.
no tracking of how much time people take off. And I think that those are really the two big things around basically treating people like adults and trying to encourage a lot more flexibility in how we sort of allow employees to balance their work and their personal lives.
That's so refreshing because you and I agree that the corporate mentality of the American workaholic just doesn't work, right? I mean, people are so debilitated, they're burned out, they're becoming ill. So why is it that more organizations aren't adopting this model?
Well, I think a lot of people are still just stuck in the past. And I think you're right. I think there's a lot of things about the work culture today that don't work. And I think a lot of it is driven by how much things have changed, right? So
Yeah.
if you think back in, the 60s or whatever, the way technology and culture sort of worked was that it made sense to have work hours in an office that were separate in a separate location at a separate time from the rest of your life. And when you
Mm,
left that office, you did not have a cell phone. Those
right.
pa- those paper memos that were on your desk didn't come home with you in your
Yeah,
pocket,
that's right.
right?
They stayed there.
So you
Yep.
didn't have email. There were no fax machines, right? And you didn't have voicemail. So when someone called your office, the phone just rang, and it just rang. And but if no one was there, no one was there. No one picked it up, right? And you had a separate phone for your home. You didn't even have a phone in your car. So the ability to kind of detach and have some refreshing time was much higher back then. Now today, you think about it, right? I mean, we all have these devices in our pockets that follow us around.
Yeah.
You're checking voicemail at home after dinner. You're running spreadsheets on your laptop when you're on an airplane or late at night, right? You're answering emails while you're using the toilet, right? I mean,
Yeah.
literally, like
Oh my
that's one of the major
gosh.
uses of smartphones, right? So on the
Right.
flip side, you're also sort of, on the flip side, like at work, you may be doing a little shopping from your computer, maybe during a
Hmm.
lunch break or another time during the day, or looking at family photos on Facebook while you're in a meeting, right? So this whole like work and life, there's no longer any separation between the two. It's really more about integration today. And
Yeah.
if you don't give employees tools to be flexible and manage that effectively, it can become completely overwhelming and consuming, right? So I think that you need to think about the balance differently, and it's because the culture and the technology has changed so much. But you're right, most corporations aren't thinking about that at all, and they're still applying the 1960s rules to the 2010 society and technology and culture.
So what I'd love to know is, are your colleagues and are you at HubSpot taking vacation? Because so many folks in busy organizations, and let's face it, who's not busy, see not using their taking their vacation time as a badge of honor. I'm a workaholic and I'm proud of it. And I think that's so dangerous.
I totally agree. Totally agree. And we try, so it's interesting because we don't track it because that's part of the benefit
Right,
of the
that's the whole
policy.
point.
But one of the things that we did was that we actually, I think starting last year, we actually amended the details of the policy. So it is not just unlimited. It is actually between 2 weeks and unlimited. So technically,
Hmm.
there's actually a minimum now. Now,
Wow.
we don't track the exact day,
Right.
so there's not a report that I can run to know. But to have that as there, like to tell the employees that the minimum is 2 weeks and it's between 2 weeks and unlimited that you can take, that I think really sets the tone that we really do expect people to take it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and to take that vacation and have that refreshing time. So when we look at it, I think the couple things that happened when we put the policy in were, one, that people were more willing to take longer trips. They were no
Yeah.
longer worried about, oh, I'm only going to take 3 days off because I need 2 days at Christmas to go visit my relatives, and I need an extra day at
Hmm.
Thanksgiving because of that flight. So I only have this many other days. I don't want to take it all. So I'm going to, that pressure was off, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
I think that that's been huge. So people are more willing to take 2 weeks, even if that would, under another policy, maybe leave them with 0 days because they know that, they might need a day or two with the holidays or whatever. So I think that's
Right.
great.
Right.
The other thing that happens is the last minute stuff. You have a sick kid or a sick relative or some personal appointment comes up or whatever, and or some friends are just going away for the weekend. You want to take a Friday off and it's the day before. That kind of stuff, I think people are much more willing to take advantage of the time and the flexibility there, which I also think is a really positive thing because, again, in this world that we live in, it moves so fast today.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when employees are responding to emails at night, it's not like they're accumulating credit for that time that they can then use to leave a little bit early on Friday, right? So I feel like we're asking for more flexibility from the employees in their personal life, and that employees should demand more flexibility in the work life from the employers as well. It's kind of a two-way street.
Well put. And the studies are clearly indicating that people that are taking that time to refresh and recharge and reboot and relax are more productive at work and they're healthier, right? And
Yeah.
the word balance is not a word that I love, but they're just feeling better about life and work. So it's all good. All boats rise.
Totally. One of the things we ask our managers to sort of look for when they're doing reviews is, think to themselves, is that employee burned out? And should you
Yeah.
tell them as part of the feedback, like you should take a vacation?
Go take a
And I've
vacation.
I've had yeah, seriously, and I think it's an important thing. And I've had to tell an employee that before,
Yeah.
and she was a little taken aback by it. But I was like, no, like I want by next week, I want you to tell me where you and your husband are going and when
Nice.
you're going. I was like, make some
Nice.
plans. Go
Yeah.
somewhere. You can go
Oh,
anywhere. Just go
it's
somewhere. Yeah.
it's great. I love it. I love it. So let me ask, just because I would be remiss if I did not, do you fear that any individuals would take advantage of it, or is that a non-issue because you've created such a trust in this culture?
I think it's one of those things where certainly that opportunity exists, but the type of people that are going to take advantage of a policy like that are the same type of people that are going to take advantage of things even in a more traditional environment where maybe they use up all their vacation days and then they start taking sick days even when they're not sick, which they really shouldn't be doing, and things like
Right.
that. They're the kind of people that are just they're gonna cut the corners all the time, and
Yeah,
those are
no
the
matter
kind of
where they
people
are.
where
Yeah.
yeah, no matter where they are, right? So it does a little bit of that happen, maybe. I do think though that we're trying to establish this much different culture around productivity and trust and flexibility, and
Right.
I think that for the vast majority of people here, it actually works really well.
That's great. That's great. So, can you drill down and say, wow, these are very specific benefits or tangibles that have been a result of the unlimited vacation for employees, managers, you name it?
So I obviously like the less paperwork for the managers is huge, right? I
That
mean, we
alone
all
is
stuff.
huge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And and a lot of it's online today, but the same
sure.
sort of idea, right?
Same sort of
Uh,
minutia. Yeah, yeah.
that's right. Yeah, it's just the stuff that's just not value added, right? And on the employee side, I think the freedom is really huge. I
Yeah.
mean, it's certainly the ability to not have to worry and have that stress about worrying about exactly how many days you have left, and oh, what if your mom gets sick again? You need to go see her. You're going to need to save some vacation days. You can't take vacation now. All that stress sort of goes away, which I think is
Hmm.
great. And in addition to like all the last minute stuff, I think it's just to have a lot more flexibility there, I think is great too. So we really feel like, we don't have a report that shows it, but we really feel like it does reduce a lot of stress on the employee side, just worrying about how many vacation days they have left and can they take them, can they not take them, and how many they need to save. And then on the management side, it's just like a lot easier in terms of paperwork and
Sure,
approvals and
sure.
things like that. And I think it's one of many things that I think goes into trying to create a new culture for the new workforce that exists today.
And I'd love to segue to that, actually, Mike. Good timing. So you have this tremendous culture code that was developed at HubSpot, and perhaps you were even part of that as an early employee in the company in the beginning. So tell me about the culture code.
Yeah, so I think what's interesting, culture is definitely something that we felt like was going to be a potential like competitive advantage for us as a company, right?
Yeah.
So we're a software company,
Hmm.
and software basically means that you're not producing anything physical. So the people in your buildings are the most valuable asset that
Yeah,
you have. There's really not a lot
absolutely.
of physical assets there. And we felt like we could create a great culture that attracted the best people in the world that would give us a competitive advantage over other software companies. And that's really what we tried to do from the beginning. And so, like you said, we created this thing called the HubSpot Culture Code. We posted it on SlideShare, wrote a blog article about it. I think it's been viewed over 2 million times
Oh,
now
yeah, and
on
counting. It's
SlideShare. Yeah, and
extraordinary.
counting. Yeah, so it's definitely sort of hit a nerve with a lot of folks. And we tried to really encapsulate there the things that we feel like are important. So we value a lot of individual autonomy, which I think is very important. So we try to have very, very few hierarchical decisions. Certainly, there is
Hmm.
some level of hierarchy. We're 750 people. You need a couple decisions to be able to be made, but we try to give as much authority as spread out within the organization as possible. Another key principle that we have is around transparency. So this is a very interesting one. Literally, all like 99.99% of the information that I have as one of the first 5 employees and the chief marketing officer and somebody in the executive team, every single employee in the company has, because we
Yeah.
post presentations to the board of directors meetings, notes from those meetings, notes from management meetings. All that stuff gets posted on our internal wiki and gets disseminated throughout the entire employee base. So if you're an intern that started yesterday, you have access to basically the same information that I have access to. And I think what's great about that is it provides a lot of empowerment to every single employee and the ability to help them make better decisions.
Right.
So there's no sort of, bad decisions aren't being made because of lack of information. And it gives a lot of employees just a lot more empowerment, which I think is great. And there's a lot of other things that we do, but I think between that kind of autonomy and transparency, those are a lot of the key things that we really think about.
That's extraordinary. And you're creating this tremendous buy-in with every employee, like you said, including the interns. And I think with that transparency comes trust, which you've earned. So bravo, your company HubSpot is certainly a role model. So Mike, what's next? You're doing all these progressive things. If we have unlimited vacation, what's the next iteration of the culture code?
Uh, I think that's still something I think we're exploring. There's
Yeah.
a lot of like interesting benefits that we've been exploring, and some things around um, giving employees more options for personal development.
Yeah,
So we do a
nice.
lot of tuition reimbursement, but it doesn't even need to be a formal class like taught
Yeah.
at a university. It can be training, it can be other things like that. We also have a free book program. So if there's a book that you want to read, there's a simple form that you fill out, and we'll actually buy it for you and email it to your Kindle address.
Love it.
So a lot of people are interested in, reading different business books, things like that. There's lots of little things like that we're trying to do. One of the cool things that we did when we remodeled our office recently was we added a nap room,
Oh, nice.
which I
Yeah.
find to be phenomenal. If I get back from the West Coast in a red-eye flight and you need an hour or two in the morning to kind of, catch up on a little bit of sleep, or, again, I have two young kids at home. A lot of times there'll be a late night with them, and then you
Yeah,
need an hour or
yeah.
two during the day just to refresh. We're big believers in that stuff. It's really about being as productive as possible and making the office and the office environment and the culture work for you. It's not about trying to alter the employees to act, behave in odd ways because of the company culture. It's really about trying to give people the freedom to do their best work.
Wonderful. And I imagine your retention rates amongst your employee population is extraordinary.
Yeah, well, I think so. The couple of things. I mean, we're in a hyper competitive
Oh,
industry
yeah.
for talent, right? I mean, we're
Yeah.
software, high tech. We're in Boston, one of the tech hubs. It is hyper competitive, and yeah, we feel like our retention rates are definitely much better than sort of the averages. But the other side of things is we're hiring a lot of people. I mean, I actually don't even know the number for this year, but we probably hired at least 150 people this year, and I think we're planning on making another 75 hires before the end of the year. And so to be able to attract enough of that talent at that level, at that
Yeah.
pace,
Yeah.
you really need to have a great culture. And our culture is definitely a competitive advantage when it comes to attracting talent as well as retaining talent.
There is no doubt. Well, Mike Volpe, Chief Marketing Officer at HubSpot, cheers to you and all of your colleagues. This is exciting, and you certainly are setting the tone for many other organizations. So, cheers to you. Bravo. I'm very impressed.
Thank you a ton. It was a real pleasure to be here and talk with you.
Well, good. I just want to remind our listeners, too, that they can check out HubSpot on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, as well as Mike. You are also on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So check him and HubSpot out in the social media sphere. Thanks, Mike. Take good care.
Thanks a ton.
And I want to thank you for tuning into your working life, where my goal is to help you design your career destiny so it doesn't happen by default. True career and life satisfaction is really possible, and it's time to embrace what you love doing so you can do more of it. I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Take good care.